Deus, o salutaris nostre, Domine ex Deus, Kyrie ex Deus, Deus noster, Michael, Domine ex Deus, Angeli, Ave Pater, Laudam Deum, Domino Majestatis,
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hope you're having a fantastic day. It is Tuesday, January 14th. And I'm here again to hang out, to answer questions. I actually see on Twitter that there is a Redeem Zoomer. Oh, no, he left. Redeem Zoomer, it's so over. I saw that there was a space on Twitter with Redeem Zoomer in there, and I was going to go in and troll. But unfortunately, that's not happening, so I guess I have to actually sit back and answer questions. Yeah, W member stream earlier. So you guys know the James White, the famous James White sermon where he says based and Mary pilled. I decided to actually watch the sermon in my member stream earlier. It's so bad, guys. I'm telling you, it's absolutely horrific. James White, he thinks that Nestorius was an adoptionist. James White thinks that he brings up a medieval dispute of whether women have souls or not. James White says there is a medieval dispute over whether women have souls or not. And this is because of monasticism. And this somehow makes us venerate Mary. Unironically. Like that's the depths of the James White sermon. I don't know if anybody actually watched it, because I know everybody was joking around about it. But unironically, James White was out there spewing absolute nonsense. Some of the worst things I've ever seen come out of the lips of an anti-Catholic. He's telling people that apparently, hold these two together and explain it to me. Apparently, medieval Catholics are denying that women have souls, and this is connected with the veneration of Mary. What's going on here? And he says, we have bad views of women, which is connected with the veneration of Mary. What in the world is going on here? I have no idea what this guy was yapping about. I only got through the first 30 minutes because it was so terrible. It was terrible. But yes, I did watch that earlier. And yes, I do very much regret this. Yeah, I'm not answering the question of Ayatollah or Trump. Not answering that question. Thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. If any of you got them, then you can watch the stream from earlier, because it was some of the worst stuff I've ever seen. James White, I think he might be losing it. I think that he's getting to an age where he's losing his mind, because he was just basic mistake after basic mistake. It was very bad. Hi, I'm a parishioner at the FSSP where most women veil. I recently came across an image that says Catholic women should avoid transparent/laced veils in favor of opaque. Is this true? Thank you. Okay, so when it comes to this, opaque veils are more in line with the reason and precept behind veiling. Lacy veils were originally introduced in order to actually get around the precept. Lacy veils were introduced for reasons of self aggrandizement, reasons of attracting attention to oneself, you have a very expensive, nice looking veil. That's not the purpose of veiling, is to look pretty. Like it's not like a dress up thing. That's not the purpose of veiling. So opaque veils have always been recommended when this controversy occurred over the span of a few centuries. And through very weird means, these mantillas have come into American use. I think, if I remember correctly, the history is that it was like 50s or 60s that it came to be used in the United States. Before that, it was a Latinx thing to use them. But yeah, this is true. Historically, these mantillas have been opposed by various different ecclesiastical authorities. But that doesn't mean that somehow it is illegitimate or illicit, because the veiling of women in church is not a precept of divine law or of natural law. So therefore, it is not something that is necessarily to be followed by all on pain of sin. So you can wear a less ideal veil and not sin by doing that. I hope that answers your question. But yeah, it's a real red pill on the mantilla question. The mantillas, they're not good at all. It was an infographic that claimed bishops had banned it because they were immodest. Yes, that is correct. There's actually a Dominican bishop whose name is escaping me right now, but yeah, that's true. I'm trying to see what the correct position is. I wear the translucent veil because it is what I have always worn. Yeah, I mean, if you're following local custom, that's always fine in a matter like this, because unless obviously a custom is breaking some sort of law, which this is not in this case, breaking some sort of law. EO claim salvation isn't in an instant baptism like we do. That's dumb, right? Or am I dumb? Please explain Catholic versus Eastern Orthodox on the moment of salvation. I'm pretty sure this is just something that you read from a random Eastern Orthodox person online. I'm sure this isn't something which is taught on the official level by the Eastern Orthodox Church. But we talk about salvation in a sense of past. So you can talk about having been saved at the moment of your conversion. We talk about it as present, so working out your salvation with fear and trembling. And we also talk about it as future. You will be saved. This is scriptural language, talks about all three moments. It's basically whenever you enter into the life of sanctifying grace, that's the past. Retaining the life of sanctifying grace, that's the present. And then having been sort of vindicated at the final judgment, so that's the future. So you can speak about it in multiple senses and not necessarily contradict. Kind of based, no time for stream, winger, gym time. Okay, thank you. Medievals were discussing if women had souls. Yeah, that's real. That's absolutely real. That's definitely not fake. My view on women is significantly higher due to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Yeah, same. Why is this the worst Q&A? How's it going, Redeem Zoomer? I was actually going to hop onto that Twitter space that I saw earlier that you were in, and I was going to harass you and people in there. Today I spent an hour chatting about St. Thomas with a Dominican priest. They are so based. Yeah, the Dominicans, they have very good formation. Very good formation. Metropolitan over all of the North America, Wagner. I've been boxing for 8 years now and fight in the Orthodox stance. What is the Orthodox stance? Orthodox stance. I don't know, I'm not a boxing guy. Is a common boxing and MMA stance where the fighter's left foot is in front of the right foot, placing their left side closer to their opponent. Okay. Would that conflict with me being Catholic? I don't, fighting in the Orthodox stance with like your left foot in front of your right foot, I don't think that would contradict you being Catholic. I read a book that claimed that St. Augustine was heavily influenced by Manichaeism in his later life. which influenced his ideas on predestination and free will. Is there any truth to this? So actually, interestingly enough, when you read the anti-Pelagian works of St. Augustine, he was accused of this during his life, and he completely vindicates himself from all charges. It's ridiculous that anybody would claim that St. Augustine was influenced by Manichaeism or anything of this nature. Anything that you can find in St. Augustine, you can find in earlier fathers, whether formally or virtually. St. Augustine clears himself of the charge in multiple different places and explains the distinction that he had between, well, his position, the Manichaean position. St. Augustine wrote multiple works against the Manichaeans. He was a Manichaean for a while. He understood the distinction between Catholic doctrine and Manichaeism. And the charges don't even make sense, because when you actually read what Manichaeans believe, you actually go into on each one of these individual topics where St. Augustine gets accused, like free will, predestination, the elect versus the reprobates, things like this. When you actually read Manichaean doctrine, it's completely different from Catholic doctrine. It's completely different from the doctrine of St. Augustine. The only appeal that they have is that similar language is used, which is because the Manichaeans took from Catholic lingo to try to make it more familiar to people in their synthesis of Catholicism with various different pagan religions. The charge is completely baseless, and it's completely ridiculous that anybody claims this. Turns out I'm dumb, and the meeting is tomorrow, so I'm free now. Very cool. Very cool. Did St. Thomas, call him St. Thomas, St. Thomas ever connect the Assumption to Mary to Psalm 132 or Revelation 12? I don't know, actually. I don't know why I opened that chat, because I have no idea. So yeah, I just saw that you called him Thomas rather than St. Thomas. Were any of the Eucharists or absolutions you received as an Anglican valid? Yes, because the Anglican priest that I was under, he wasn't ordained in the Anglican Church, so he had valid orders. So all of them were. Joke so bad Wagner didn't understand it. Wait, what was the joke? I don't get it. I don't get what the joke was. Part 2 when? Part 2 to what? Let me see. Is striking? Oh, come on, dude. I really don't want to talk about this in public for obvious reasons. So if you really wanted to, you can email me or something, and I'll send you some resources. Yeah, why don't you guys why are you guys liking the video? Does anyone have any recommendations for articles on our natural desire to see God in his essence? I mean, you can consult the ordinary commentaries on the Tract on Beatitude. Our good friend Reginald Murray Garrigou-Lagrange, he talks about it in his commentary on Beatitude, and then he also talks about it in his De Revelatione, on Divine Revelation. I think it's volume 1, and where he talks about the distinction between nature and grace. But the one that everybody reads is Fine Gold. Let me see. Do different sins get different punishments in purgatory? Yes. You didn't get the Orthodox stance? Orthodox fighting stance joke? Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the joke. I thought you needed faculties to validly absolve. Well, he was actually consecrated to the episcopate too. And in cases like this, there's a sort of tacit grant of supplied jurisdiction. You like the video? Good, you better like the video, RZ. Or I'm imprecatory psalms against you. Wagner, see my previous. Well, what is your previous message? If I really like it and want to answer it, I'll answer it. I don't see your previous message. Dang. L. I was gonna answer it too, but I can't find it. We love RZ, but one of his new videos is Cole. He said the Phodians are best at caring about the Trinity. No, RZ. Catholics are the best about caring about the Trinity. Come on, RZ. Prayed for you at the skull of St. Thomas Aquinas. Keep up the good work. YouTube won't let me say skull. Really? But thank you. I appreciate it very much. I need all of your prayers. Hey, Wagner, I have a physical edition of the STS that I got for cheap. Wow. That's a blessing. Is it better for me to have a crack at it with spotty Latin? Oh, wait, you have a Latin edition of the STS? That's even cooler, actually. Or should I get a copy of Pole in English? If you have bad Latin, then you should probably not try to read through something like the STS. I mean, if you want to read Pole, that's fine. I can't think of any super major issues in Pole except the volume on predestination, and grace is kind of weird. Hello, sorry for the double question. I thought veiling was a precept of the law because 1 Corinthians 11, 2 through 16. Can you please explain? Thank you. God bless. So when we call laws apostolic, we don't, this only indicates the origin of the law. So like, for example, we can think about the precept of praying to the east. This is a apostolic law. It comes from the apostles. Some would say it's a dominical law, which means it comes from our Lord. But when it comes to apostolic laws can either be something which is divine, so it comes from God. It could be something which is of the natural order, or it could be something which is positive. So when it comes to veiling, it has historically been recognized by canonists that veiling is something which is a precept of positive law, even though its principle is something which is based in the natural law. There's not a necessary connection between the principle and the precept, and therefore it's positive and can be dispensed in certain cases. So since it's something which is positive, it depends on the will of the legislator. So, for example, let's say the church said that we all have to go to Mass on Tuesday. This would be based on the will of the legislator. So if the church all of a sudden said you don't need to go to Tuesday Mass anymore, then we would be freed from the obligation. So yeah, that's just the traditional opinion on this. What are your thoughts, process on addressing Williamson, Michael 1 and 2 by their titles? I assume there's no issue, but I'm surprised. Yeah, yeah. I didn't really put much thought in before talking to them, but I just assumed that nobody would be scandalized, which I think was a good assumption, that people wouldn't be scandalized by my use of their titles. So that's why I use the preferred titles of them. I'm assuming nobody heard me use the titles and then thought that if they knew me that I was somehow supporting their schisms. Okay, Wagner question. It seems sanctifying grace rather than the virtues formally constitute justice because we're pardoned from sin not because we love God, virtue, but because he first loves us, grace per se. Charity and grace per se are opposed to sin differently. Grace and sin are contrary by intrinsic formality, while charity is contrary in the way of friendship is contrary to enmity in the same subject. Yeah, I don't think this is the case. I don't think this is the case at all. So with this one, it seems sanctifying grace rather than the virtues formally constitute justice because we're pardoned from sin not because we love God, virtue, but because he first loves us, grace per se. When it talks about him first loving us, this would actually be the love as it eternally exists in God. This wouldn't be talking about sanctifying grace. So I don't think that would be a support to your position. And then with the second one, charity and grace per se are opposed to sin differently. grace and sin are contrary by intrinsic formality. So I actually think charity is something which is contrary by intrinsic formality to grace. Skull of St. Thomas, very true. Well, let's be honest. Your average Orthodox layman knows more about Trinitarian theology than your average Catholic layman, even if they're wrong. I don't. I don't think. So. I don't think this is true at all. Is calling Prots heretics okay? If yes, is it prudent? Well, obviously, it's okay to call them heretics because they are heretics, but the prudence of this would depend on the circumstances. I mean, are you just kind of going out in the streets and yelling at people, calling them heretics? Is this something that you have a relationship with a person, they're asking a genuine question, you're answering their question of whether they're heretics or not? There's a lot of different circumstances on this. Oh yeah, I've actually been reading Alfonso de Castro recently. I have mixed thoughts about Alfonso de Castro, to be honest. There's a reason why Saint Robert Bellarmine is the doctor who's against the Protestants, who gets canonized as such, as being our main respondents. There are some things that I read in there, and I'm kind of like, I'm not entirely sure whether this follows. I'm not entirely sure whether this is a fair critique. I'm not entirely sure whether his position is even correct. Like he has some weird things on um, like what constitutes an act of the ordinary and universal magisterium. Like he basically thinks, for example, he basically seems to think, at least from my reading, that if you have a position that's long in the church and does not get explicitly opposed, that this constitutes an act of the ordinary and universal magisterium, which is very strange to me. Oh, Pope Saint Zosimus is your confirmation saint? That's so epic. I love that. Um, Let me see. I bet a Soviet babushka knows about as much as Trinitarian theology as my grandfather. This is true. In front of my church, there's a big old sign that's saying that women must veil. Given what you've explained earlier, is it lawful for them to do this? Yes. Yes. It is lawful for them to do this. It's lawful for them to enforce certain general customs around worship. So, like, for example, if you have a like customary silence for 5 minutes after the liturgy, it would, and the church enforces this because the celebrant has authority over the liturgy, obviously within the scope given by the church. Like they can't, do a random mass how they want. But around the accidental circumstances surrounding the liturgy, they have a authority on this matter. So the celebrant is able to admit only women who have certain standards of modesty, which may include veiling or may not include veiling. Okay, over under 109 days until RZ admits Catholicism is true. Very true. Let me see. Wait, is RZ reading Glories of Mary? I was always under the impression that veiling was obligatory always before Vatican. So veiling was obligatory by canon law up until 1983. And then the 1983 Code of Canon Law does not enforce that precept anymore. Okay. Settle a debate. Does SSPX fulfill Sunday obligation? I don't want to talk about this. I didn't read this. Is sanctifying grace necessary for fides informis? No, it's not, because unformed faith is not a virtue. What are your thoughts on the majority of contemporary philosophers rejecting the scholastic view of identity? I mean, my thoughts kind of amount to the fact that I don't really care what they think. I mean, why should I? They're not really any sort of authority for me. I don't really give any sort of extrinsic authority to them. So it doesn't really matter to me. One quote from St. Thomas is worth more than all of the books of all of the contemporary philosophers for the last 20 years. One single quote from St. Thomas is worth more than all of them. Oh, I just put up your chat earlier. I didn't see the response to the Astro thread this morning. Sorry about that. Okay. Do you think the lack of confession times of any parishes constitutes a type of liturgical abuse? Yes. There is, wherever there is, and this is an important principle, wherever there is an obligation, there's wherever there is a right, there's a corresponding obligation, and vice versa. I mean, these are correlatives. So, since there is uh, in uh, in the law of the church an obligation to confess, there is a sort of corresponding a right on this part. Okay, so it would be abusive and not uh, being in accordance with the law of the church not to provide what are the morally necessary means for carrying out the precepts that are given. So yes. If charity is the form of faith, but faith can exist without charity, does dead faith have a form or no? Yes, it does have a form. It has a form. It's basically, think about it like this. So charity is to faith like the soul is to the body. Okay. So when the soul leaves the body, there's a certain form of corpseness, if you may, that replaces the soul, which vivifies the body. So there's a certain form which follows upon the departing of charity from faith. What were your thoughts on the Diamonds video on you? I thought it was bad. McChicken money, thank you. One word by St. Thomas is worth 10,000 words by others. His very statement is truth. We must strive to carry out those that we understand as well as those we do not. It's very true. Reason and Theology? Wait, is Reason and Theology here by Michael Lofton? RZ deliberately ignores church history and the church fathers because he's obsessed with the theological aesthetics of Calvinism. Okay, thank you for the super chat. Wait, what? Why did you at Reason and Theology? He's not here. He's not here. You can't convince me that he's here. You can't convince me. Why is your bookshelf a mess? Because I didn't feel like cleaning it. No way. You guys are. Yeah, this Q&A is pretty bad. Hi, the Michael Lofton show. He's not here. He's not here. Scroll up. He's not here. He's not here. Bought a ring today and I'm proposing tomorrow. Any marriage tips? Don't do it. It's not too late. It's not too late. Run. 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 It's not too late. It's not too late, guys. It's not too late for you. Run. 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 But congratulations, by the way. But run. Run. Okay? You hear me? Listen to me? Just get out, fake your death, change your identity, um, work in a a lumber business thing, cut down trees in Canada or something like that, bro. Those are my three tips. My three tips. But in all seriousness, I guess marriage tips. I don't know about how comfortable I feel giving marriage advice on on my stream. I guess like any other relationship in life, you have to get rid of self-will. This includes your relationship with God, by the way, which is why a lot of our mystics will speak of a complete detachment from self-will as the perfection in the spiritual life. This is Saint Ignatius, for example, talks like this, and a lot of talk like this, but Saint Ignatius is the one that I remember most clearly. But remove self-will. I guess that's my tip for you. But congratulations. Although it's not too late, bro. It's not too late to run. Wagner says flee. Yeah, flee the longhouse. Why do Thomists think that God causes the material peccati of a sinful act, but the Augustinians don't? I don't know about the Augustinian position on this. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm not aware of why the Augustinians disagree with the Thomists. I mean, we would say that the sinful act materially considered has some sort of entity, and there's nothing with entity that that does not come from God. Therefore, it has to come from God. That's the argument that we would give for this. My religion teacher told us that dates and such can be wrong in the Bible. Is that true? No, that's heretical. That's heretical. Dates and such cannot be wrong in the Bible because the Bible is the word of God, and God can neither deceive nor be deceived. Are you guys just trolling me now? Marriage tip number 1, don't do it. No, he's not. He's not here. You guys are messing with me. Why are Catholics receiving so much hate for doing to Wes Huff what Wes Huff did to Billy Carson? Yeah, the Wes Huff guy, I saw a clip from him. Um, saw a clip from him, and Mr. Huss or Huff or yeah Huss, real Huss, Mr. Huff. He was saying that the 66 books of the Old and New Testament were accepted in the 2nd century, and there was no controversy going on after that. There's really just a controversy over whether you should add the Deuterocanonicals or not. Has the guy read anything about the development of the New Testament canon? This makes no sense. This guy, he seems like a anti-Catholic charlatan, and I don't trust or like him at all. Thank you for the super chat, Alex. I don't see. Yo, he's here. Yo, he's here. Hey, yo, Wagner. Wow. I'm the new Wagner. Whoa. That's crazy. I can't believe he's here. Is it allowed to hold the position of Pedro de Lorca on the question of implicit and explicit faith in relation to the possibility of salvation for non-Christians? Define allowed. Define allowed. Allowed is a very interesting question. Thank you for the super chat. I don't see a question. Can you share with us your favorite St. Thomas fact? My favorite St. Thomas fact. I don't know. I actually don't know if I have any fun facts about St. Thomas. My favorite St. Thomas fact is he actually accepted the Immaculate Conception, and anybody who says that he denied it is coping. That's my favorite St. Thomas fact. But I can't think of like a fun fact, one you would bring up at the dinner table. Oh, I mean, I guess he would be the first non-patristic doctor of the church is St. Thomas. Yeah, there's my fun fact. Wes Hoff is a bozo. Okay, thank you. I don't know much about him. Q&A. When is the bookshelf getting organized? I don't know. I don't know whether St. Joseph was immaculate or not. Do you have a quote from the Bible talking about this, by the way? Oh yeah, I mean the St. Thomas, and the funny thing about this story. So for those who don't know, St. Thomas, he joined the Dominican order. His brothers really didn't like the fact that he joined the Dominican order. So what they did is they basically locked him in the family council because he came from a noble castle, sorry, because he came from a noble family. So what he did is he just sat there with a copy of Lombard sentences and his Bible, and he just sat there and memorized his Bible. And his brothers used to come in and beat the crap out of him to try to convince him to join the Benedictines so he could be a monk with some political power to help the family out, you know. So they used to beat him up and beat him up and beat him up. And finally, they realized that beating him up wasn't going to cause him to change his mind. So they decided to get a local woman of the night and to send this woman of the night into his room to try to seduce him in order that he would sleep with her, and then this would cause him to be so discouraged that he would not want to be a Dominican anymore. But rather than that, St. Thomas, he was in the corner praying, and she walks in, and St. Thomas turns around, looks at her, and he feels within himself a slight movement of concupiscence. And he recognizes the danger that had occurred. So he ran over, he picked up a burning log off of the fire, and he chased her out with the burning log. And then he drew a cross with the burning log on the door of the place that he was in. And he passed out, and angels came to him in his sleep and gave to him a certain cord called the angelic cord to wrap around his waist. And from that day forward, he wore the cord all the time that he was given by the angels. And he didn't feel any more motions of concupiscence the rest of his life. But a lot of people are like, okay, well, that that's a fun story and all. That sounds kind of fake. But the story was actually being told within the generations after his death. There were people alive who spoke with St. Thomas, who knew St. Thomas, who told this story. It wasn't a story that was, some later legend centuries later. It was a very immediate story told after his death. We actually have the cord, which was wrapped around the waist of St. Thomas and given from the angels. And there's a co-fraternity called the Angelic Warfare Co-fraternity. And the Angelic Warfare Co-fraternity, it consists of people who wear the cord around their waists, or you can wear a medal, and these are blessed, and they're meant to help grow in the virtue of chastity. But what they very immediately after his death, there were actually a bunch of university students who were like, "Yeah, that's really cool. St. Thomas is amazing," and they all started wearing it as a thing. That was their that was one of the things that they did. But yeah, that's the story of St. Thomas and the prostitute. But it's a very good story, and it shows you what you should do anytime you're alone in a room with a woman who is not of your relation. A woman who's not of your family. You're alone with a woman in a room. She's not related to you. You're not married. You just have to tell her to leave. If she doesn't leave, just pick something up and you know attack. It's basically what you need to do. Are there any good works in English that defend the proximate debt of sin? What is AFAIK? I can never remember what that one is. Father Norberto del Prado, OP is untranslated. There is I think Mother of Our Savior by Gary Lagrange. I think he defends proximate debt. So that would be the only one I can think of that is translated. I mean, there's a machine translation version of Norberto del Prado on on St. Thomas, but I don't know if you have that. If you don't have that and you want it, you can just reach out to me and I'll give it to you. I am watching a rabbi do acrobatic on the TV in the gym. Can you do acrobatics? No, I can't do acrobatics. Why was St. Thomas wrong about that one thing? He wasn't wrong about anything. Why was St. Thomas right about literally everything? Because he, in the words of Cajetan, as quoted by Leo XIII, he venerated the Holy Father so much that he inherited the intellects of them all. Um, what are your thoughts on the Orthodox saints allowed to be venerated in the Catholic Church? I don't think that that should be happening. I think it's a local abuse. I think you're right. Question about acts of charity above. Uh, uh, um, if one commits a mortal sin and makes an act of charity before confession, just in case, the act of charity is supposed to work morally, not physically right, since the act flows from the residing habit. Well, no, the act of charity must flow from the habit of charity. So there must be some sort of infusion of sanctifying grace from God in order to make such an act. In that case, the obligation for confession would be one of law and not one of physical or moral necessity. Okay, I'm glad I found that. I thought there was no way I was going to find that one. Well, I'm 5 minutes behind on the chat. Yeah, Saint Francis de Sales and Saint Bernardine of Siena also hold Suarez's position on Saint Joseph being made immaculate. I'm, I just it's just not something that is clear in Scripture or uh, tradition. So it's a pious opinion, but if the church decides one way or another, I would be happy to assent to the judgment of the church. But for now, I don't see any strong necessity of holding the position. What if I, instead of the avatar master of all four elements, it was the slurvatar master? Oh my goodness. You baited me. I was baited. Why can the Eastern Catholic churches recognize heretics like Gregory Palamas and Mark of Ephesus as saints? Because the church has a human element and sometimes permits abuses. I mean, it's a good question over um, whether the church should permit the abuse so that a greater evil doesn't come about, or the church should eliminate the abuse due to the damage that it can cause to the faithful. I think it's a good question, although I'm not on the side of permitting the abuse. Okay, you're going to join the Dominicans, W. Hey Wagner, the Orthos keep trying to reject the Pope's supremacy and legitimacy by bringing up the donation of Constantine again and again. How would you respond? I mean, before modern textual critical methods, forgeries are used sometimes. It just happens. Watch your Diamond Magic stream. Is that how I come off talking to non-believers about miracles? Totally nuts. Gave me a mini crisis of faith. I hope not. I hope that you don't come across like that. I mean, this is why the church is very rigorous in her process of discerning true miracles or not. Wait. When did I do that? When did I do that? That rabbi's my uncle. Nice. Can I hold to the position of the Lorca without posing a danger to my soul or being proximate to heresy? Those are two different questions. I think it probably would be dangerous to one's soul to hold to the position of De Lorca. I think that any error is dangerous to the soul, and I disagree with De Lorca. So obviously, I would. But do I think it's proximate to heresy? No, I don't think it's proximate to heresy. Okay. What position do you take on what constitutes the divine essence? I take the position of John of St. Thomas. It's defended by Billowart. Bro, RZ, I'm gonna be honest. I appreciate the compliment, but there's a lot more to theology than predestination. Okay, as important as it is, and as much of it as I appreciate, there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it than predestination. Can you explain the title Doctor of the Church? Okay, so Doctor of the Church is a title that's specifically um, meant to, how do I put this? Render some sort of extrinsic authority in the area in which one is delegated as a doctor of the church. It's not meant to render the positions probable. Some say that it's meant to render the positions safe that they take as long as the church has not decided against them. But it's really just a liturgical. It's a designator that has to do with a general sort of imitation of the individual, along with a liturgical change. So different office, different mass said for them. Oh my goodness. Is this did you see somebody else ask this question? Because I feel like I've gotten this question every single stream. But it's like appeared randomly over a few months ago. But yes, catechumens, if they have I mean there's certainly cases where catechumens merely have a human faith. But if catechumens have the theological virtue of faith, they have sanctifying grace. I mean, unless they're in a state of mortal sin or something like that. But catechumens do. What does baptism do in that case? They receive the mark, and they also receive a confirmation and increase in the grace in which they have. Follow up question: what do you think the best argument for the proximate debt versus the remote debt? The exceptionist view and views in between. The argument for the proximate debt over the remote debt. I mean, I think the best argument is that the for the proximate debt position is the proximate debt position basically it's just a it doesn't have to um, multiply miracles, because in order for the remote debt position to be true, you would have to somehow posit some sort of extraordinary grace to reconstitute nature in Saint Joachim and Anne in the marital act in which they produce the Blessed Virgin. Which it's something which is possible. Sure, I guess it's possible for them to do that, but we have no revelation on this point, so there's no reason for me to deny the proximate debt position. Um, so yeah, but it's a very speculative question. I'm confused. Since 33, I'm very confused. Do you believe Saint Joseph was an old man or a younger man? Does the viewpoint of this truly matter in any serious way? To your second question, no, it doesn't really matter. To your first question, probably old, but I don't hold any solid positions on this. But if the canonizations are infallible, is allowing the veneration of Orthodox saints a kind of canonization? No. We talk about the infallibility of canonizations. This is something which follows from the act of canonization. Like, for example, read the canonization act that's used to canonize a saint, and read an ex cathedra declaration. The same exact authority is being invoked, same exact protections are being invoked, the same exact language of uh, what exactly is being done in the act is being used, and that's how you determine whether something is infallible or not. To just merely have an act of permission or of some sort of local veneration. Both of these cases, an example of a positive. I mean, with a positive act of permission, that's something different than even a mere. How do I put it? Because there's a positive act of permission. You could also think of a negative permission, which is basically just not doing something. You just don't do anything to deal with the problem or to support the problem, which is basically kind of how it is with Eastern Catholics. But no, that it's not a canonization in the sense that would guard infallibility. Oh, you were not talking about necessity? I'm super confused now. I'm not answering your question, Catholic one. Okay. If someone's baptized by desire, are they implicitly subject to the Pope? Yes. Hey Wagner, what's your opinion on mental prayer, and how often do you do it, and do you think it's vital for the soul? So what you have to remember is that mental prayer, that is, according to the language of at least most of the authors that I've read, it has to do with making certain interior acts towards God during prayer. So unless one is doing mental prayer, one is not praying at all. So even while you are doing vocal prayer, i.e., like expressing words outwardly and vocally, you need to still be making interior acts, or it's simply the corpse of a prayer. It's not a real prayer. So anytime you pray, you should be engaging in mental prayer. And if you want to read more about this, there's Tan Books has a really good little guide. It's called the Catechism of Mental Prayers by Joseph Simler. It's very good. You should read it. If a beatified soul participates in eternity, could someone here on earth pray to himself in death? And oh my goodness, I don't even know how to answer this question. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I'm skipping. I'm sorry. You can have a different question. I'm skipping. That was that's this is probably the most. I don't even know what to say about this question. I don't even know what this. Can you pray to yourself? Can you pray to yourself in heaven, and then later you'll pray for yourself in the past? Because I mean, it's not exactly wrong to retroactively pray for something. I guess it would be possible. Okay, although I'm open to hearing arguments to the contrary. Okay, best way minus filioque and papacy to disprove orthodoxy is originally original sin one. Also, we have to pray to the east? Question mark. Yes, it's an apostolic tradition that we pray to the east. But original sin, I'm not really aware of the official position of the Orthodox Church when it comes to original sin and how it differs from the Catholic Church. I haven't really studied this at all, so I don't know where or whether there's a genuine difference or not. Sorry, friend. Do we need to follow local customs during Mass? Um, uh, Depends what we mean by should. Should we, or do we need to? Do we need to? I mean, there's certain cases where local customs aren't exactly something which will uh, are not expressed with a great deal of force, or would not cause scandal if broken by somebody in your state. Like, for for example, in certain countries, which I experienced while I was in North Africa, in certain countries, it is normal to pray without your shoes on. And it was really weird because I was uh, an altar server. I was helping at Mass, and I was wearing no shoes the whole time. And it just felt really weird to do it. Eventually, I mean, it got normal. But I'm sure if I went to uh, a Mass being done and that was the normal custom, and I'm just the Westerner guy who likes to wear my shoes, I'm sure nobody would be offended by that. So it depends. List of all the liturgies you've been to: TLM, Novus Ordo, Ordinariate, Byzantine. There's the only four. Has the church sided with immediate ensoulments? Do you mean depends on what you mean by did the church side? Did the church side on this matter? It seems that Saint John Paul II might have taught in a lower level immediate ensoulment in a very low weight teaching. Seems that that might be the case, although it could be read a different way. But there has been no firm judgment from the church which determines this. Is it listed for Catholics to privately venerate pious figures from Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox sects? Yeah, I mean this is something which predates Second Vatican Council. The bigger issue is in a in public veneration. How do you retroactively pray? Can I pray my divorce never happened? Oh my goodness, this is you can pray that your divorce never happens right now if you wanted to. Very sorry to hear about your divorce. If you're not making a weird joke about that. Okay, next question. Praying praying to yourself seems prideful because you are assuming you have the grace of final perseverance will be given the beatific vision. May be wrong. Is it 1 hour yet? I really don't want to talk about this. You should know you're literally the Pope. Oh my gosh. Pope Francis. You should know about this. You're the Pope. The Pope should know everything, okay? Do Christians and Muslims worship the same God? Yes. Which is the original sign of the cross on the forehead? Can't believe Pope Francis is in my live chat. Who said I didn't know? Oh, are you just coming in my live chat to make sure I'm teaching orthodoxy? Pope Francis, trust me, I'm your top guy. I would never teach against you. I would never. I know, I'm sorry for yelling at you. I don't know about the vasectomy question. Sorry. I've never read any treatments of this. Pope Francis autobiography review? Let me see. Pope Francis autobiography. 5 things we learned about Pope Francis from his newest memoir. His father died after suffering a heart attack at a soccer match. He was nearly not born at all. Interesting. He made a vow not to watch TV and hasn't really cheated. Oh, really? He made a vow to the Virgin Mary on July 15th, 1990. That evening, he writes, he was watching TV with his Jesuit community in Buenos Aires when a sordid scene appeared on the TV which deeply offended me. So true. So true. Yeah, when you see something inappropriate on TV and just never watch it again. It was as if God had told me that the television was not for me, that it did me no good. So true, Pope Francis. For the most part, he's kept his vow, even though it means missing San Lorenzo soccer matches. The Swiss guards have him covered. They leave notes with the latest scores and standings on his desk. That's so epic. Would-be assassins targeted the Pope during his visit to Iraq. Wow. He has carefully planned his funeral. Okay. Yeah, we already knew all that stuff. Yeah, we love Pope Francis. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I was just about to get off the stream because it hit an hour, but I'll finish up these last questions. Did the Beatles kill music? I don't know. Also, can we lay prostrate on Sunday because an ecumenical council said not to? That would be a really good example of ecclesiastical positive law. By the way, I love you, Wagner. I love you too. Can retroactive prayers for the conversion of the dead be efficacious? I thought the jury was out on it, but it is a pious practice. Um, Considering the fact that you don't know the state of that person's soul, unless you knew that that individual was in hell, I don't see why it wouldn't be permissible. Please do a video refutation of Christopher West. Ugh. Dude, I don't even, with some of the stuff that he writes, I don't even want to repeat it. I would need to get somebody else to read those portions of the video. I can't repeat his very disgusting statements. Why no more lay cardinals in the church? I don't think it ever was a popular practice, for all I know. Please pray that I find work so I can do it. Bro, if you don't have a job, please don't donate to me. I'm begging you. Please don't. Please don't. Thoughts on Cardinal Richelieu? Okay. I'm gonna try to search him quickly so I can leave. Okay, Cardinal Richelieu. Let me see. From a quick look at his Wikipedia page, he looks really cool. But let me look, see if he has any controversies. The principal points of the faith of the Catholic Church defended? Never seen this. Oh, the Richelieu Bacchus continued to be admired by neoclassical artists. Ew! He com- he commissioned naked art. That's gross. Never mind. I don't like him anymore. Okay, I won't. Shut up. Uh, Christians and atheists worship the same God. No, Christians and atheists do not worship the same God. Okay. Anyways, he destroyed the Huguenots, but he also liked yucky art. So, anyways, I hope that you all have a fantastic rest of your day. I need to do the Ignatius study Bible stream. Maybe I will do that tomorrow. Okay, why is Pope Francis not? Before I leave, yeah, base naked art is kind of cringe for real. It's gross. It's gross. It's gross. If you do the video, I'll do it. So you're telling me you'll take one for the team and read all of the yucky Chris West quotes. You want your voice to be the voice of Chris West. Think through this. Think through this. It's so bad. Maybe I'll do like a Christopher West worst moments video or something like that, where I go through all the gross stuff. He sided against the Holy Roman Empire in the 30 Years' War. Yeah, my ancestors fought on the side of the Holy Roman Empire, so I don't like this guy at all. But yes, I will make Pope Francis a mod. Okay, then I'm leaving. Okay, let me actually open this up. Okay, this wasn't the Q&A of all time, I guess. Okay, where are you, Pope Francis? Add as moderator. Okay. So Pope Francis is a mod. No. Thomism says no, but I say yes. Really? Really? Are you disagreeing with Thomism? Do you want to be a mod minion Thomist? I'll make you a mod. You should have asked me to be a mod beforehand. I would have made you one. If you're disagreeing with St. Thomas, Pope Francis, I might have to take you off from being a mod. In regard to animals in heaven, I'm sorry I have to do this. I'm sorry, Pope Francis. I'm sorry. I had to do it. I had to do it. I will always stick by the angelic doctor, no matter what. I'm sorry, Pope Francis. Anyways, I hope that you all have a fantastic evening. Tomorrow I'll be doing something, and goodbye.